It's undeniable that Christian movies have come a really long way. But yesterday I found myself wondering what was the worst Christian movie of 2023. So I hopped on Google, I searched for it, not sure if I'd find anything. I clicked the first link, I sorted the movies by rating, then worst, and I accidentally found the worst ranked Christian movie of all time, which was Kirk Cameron's Saving Christmas. How timely. Now, I've seen some really bad Christian movies in my time, but this one is apparently rated worse than all of them, including The Trump Prophecy and Gramps Goes to College.
I know that sounds bad.
This movie also received a 0% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, received the Raspberry Award for Worst Picture, along with the lowest rated film on the IMDb's bottom 100 list within 1 month of its theatrical release.
Yikes.
But gauging off of the trailer, the film honestly didn't look that bad. I mean, the production looked a lot better than other Christian movies that I've seen, which really made me wonder, was this movie really that bad? Or were the low ratings on the movie simply the result of it being targeted by haters who simply didn't like the Christian message? I couldn't tell based off of the comments on the review, so I decided to watch it, and I was shocked by what I found. So if you haven't heard of this movie, it's a faith-based comedy, which is about how Kirk Cameron notices that his brother-in-law isn't celebrating Christmas with everyone else and he appears to be down. So eventually, Kirk finds his brother-in-law sitting in his car and decides to join him to figure out what's going on. What he ends up learning is that his brother-in-law doesn't believe in celebrating Christmas for a number of reasons, and Kirk goes on a mission to save his brother-in-law from his negative view of Christmas, so that way they can all celebrate Christmas together as a family. One of the first things that I realized was that right away the movie was explicitly Christian, and they took some small jabs at non-Christians who were trying to move Christ from Christmas, which really made me start to think that the bad ratings probably came from some anti-Christian haters who just didn't like the message of the film. But it wasn't too long after that my assumptions started to change pretty sharply. The longer that the film went on, I started to notice that the main plot of the movie wasn't so much Kirk Cameron trying to save Christmas from the anti-Christmas non-Christians, but instead it was mostly about him trying to save Christmas from the anti-Christmas Christians. Most of the movie takes place in his brother-in-law's car, where the brother-in-law brings up common objections to Christians celebrating Christmas, such as Christmas trees are pagan, or that Santa was invented to take Jesus out of Christmas, the fact that Jesus wasn't born on December 25th, Christmas isn't in the Bible, and so on. And Kirk spent most of the movie responding to these objections. So basically, the film was mostly an apologetic for the celebration of Christmas and the explanation of why he believes that the anti-Christmas Christians are wrong. So as soon as I realized that this was the main point of the film and where the film was headed, then it dawned on me that maybe it wasn't the non-Christians who didn't like the message and therefore rated it poorly, but instead maybe it was the Christians who didn't like the message of the film and therefore rated it poorly. But the longer that the film went on, I started questioning myself again, and I started seeing some things about the film that weren't immediately obvious during the first act. When it comes to the things that I thought was good about the movie, they gave some information that a lot of people might not have known about the origins of Christmas, Christmas trees, the story of the real Santa Claus, and so on. In fact, one thing that I didn't know was that Saint Nicholas, who is the character that Santa is derived from, he was at the Council of Nicaea and got into a fist fight with the heretic Arius during the discussion of Jesus' divinity. I have never heard that before, and maybe I should have, but that was news to me. I also agree with aspects of the main message of the film, which we'll come back to here in a bit. But when it comes to the bad, they did a lot of things wrong with this movie. Now, going into this, I knew that they branded the movie as a comedy, but at least 90% of the movie was an educational piece rather than a comedy, or to be honest, even a story. Even the type of humor in the movie just wasn't funny. For example, there's a scene when the other main character, who they unironically named Christian, when he tells another guy that the guy needs to work on his exegesis, and the other guy responds by saying,
"Extra Jesus? Man, I've had my extra Jesus ever since I was baptized for the second time." You gonna give me some?
In fact, if I'm gonna keep it above, to be completely honest, not a single joke in the entire movie seemed to land right. If I did find a joke funny, it was only because of just how bad and unfunny the joke was, not because it was actually funny. For example,
newsflash, not in the Bible. That's a pagan idol symbol. It was the winter solstice. Jesus was not born in December. It's exactly what the Druids did. It's like a carjacking, but like of our religion. And guess what? Santa got in the car, kicked Jesus out, and was like, rolling, 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 and just took it.
Cringe. But even worse, and I really hate to show you this, but there were some scenes that were like this scene, which lasted for like 8 minutes or something, and it was so painful.
Get it old school, beyond me. You know how we do it. Alto, sopranos, and tenors. Let's do this, baby.
Angels we have burned all night, sweetly sing. the flames and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strain.
Who was this movie written by? Was it Kirk Cameron? I mean, I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm not a hater, but this honestly makes me wonder if Kirk Cameron was being serious when he pitched his movie ideas to the Babylon Bee.
I keep feeling like the Christian film industry is missing out on some absolutely gold ideas. Hunger Games for God. In this movie, teams from several districts are sent to fight in a Bible trivia contest to the death. Taken to heaven. Night at the Creation Museum. Breaking Good.
Still all better than his Christmas movie. No offense. And another thing is that the movie is also structured really badly, specifically at the beginning and the end of the movie, and the dialogue all seemed to be improvised rather than carefully crafted, which made the talking scenes drag on for too long and falling short of landing any good punchlines. So given all of these issues, it makes sense to me why this movie is rated as the worst movie ever made, and it wasn't because of the bad writing, dialogue, and structure. And it also wasn't because it offended secular people with this message, or because it offended a lot of Christians with its message either. It was ranked as the worst movie of all time because it did all of those things, offended almost everyone and appealing to hardly anyone, and therefore safely securing their position as the worst rated movie of all time. But before you click off thinking that there isn't anything that Christians can take away from this movie, there's still a couple of things that I think are good messages for us to walk away with. The first point is that it's true that Christmas has been overwhelmed by consumerism, which puts an emphasis on what we can get from others, and it also distracts us from the true historical meaning of Christmas, which is a celebration of the birth of Christ. So I agree with them that our focus shouldn't be on what we can get, but rather who Christ is and what he did for us. For those of us that are Christians, if we give or receive these free and undeserved gifts on Christmas, for us, we should let that be a reminder of the free and undeserved gift that God gave us when he put on human flesh and came into our cold and dark world. God gave us the gift of Christ, who gave his life for us, and he offered the life that he lived to us as a free and undeserved gift, so that way we could have everlasting life. You can't earn a gift, you can only accept it, and that's why Christ offering us the free gift of salvation is a message that we should be celebrating every day and not just on Christmas. So, have you seen this movie? And if so, do you agree that it's the worst Christian movie of all time or not? Let me know your thoughts down below, and the next time you forget that Christmas should really be about Christ, what are you gonna say? What do you mean?